All right, everyone, and thanks for joining us today, to those who are both live in the room and those who are joining us via Zoom. The next three papers that we'll be hearing from today are broadly linked by a shared interest in the environmental and activist space, and particularly considering the pedagogies surrounding and intersecting with that space. Our first paper is presented by the team from UTAS, many of which are joining us from the Zoom room. That's Niklava's Rubenis, Meg Keating, Stephen Carson, and Andy Terhell. Let's see, Dr. Niklava's Rubenis is a senior lecturer in object design. He's got a focus in particular on craft design, ethics, and people. Dr. Meg Keating is an associate professor and, of course, the head of school at the School of Creative Arts and Media at UTAS. Dr. Stephen Carson is the graduate research coordinator at the same institution, as well as lecturer in art at that institution. And he's, I suppose, a sculptor in the inverted commas that are appropriate to that medium. And Andy Terhell is an associate lecturer in media. All of them are from the School of Creative Arts and Media, and we're delighted to welcome them beaming in from sunny Hobart today. Their paper today is called Climate Aware Creative Practices Towards a Collective No, it's not. I flipped onto the wrong page. My apologies, Helen. Back to the right page. Their project, which is on the screen in front of me, is Building Communities with People, Pets and Art, a pedagogical model of creative enterprise. I will hand over to you now. Thank you very much.
Good on you. Thanks, Charles. Thumbs up if you can hear me. All good? All right, excellent. Thanks very much. Yes, my name's Niklava Rubenis, and I'm from the School of Creative Arts and Media at University of Tasmania. I'll be flying the banner for today's presentation, and joining with me today is Meg Keating. I'm meeting you today across Lituita, Tasmania, Aboriginal land, sea and waterways online. I acknowledge with deep respect the traditional owners of this land, the Palawa people. The Palawa people belong to the oldest continuing culture in the world, so I honour them. I'd also like just to extend that acknowledgement to the traditional owners and elders past and present and emerging from wherever everybody's chiming in from today. I'd also like to acknowledge my fellow collaborators on this project, Meg Keating, head of school, Stephen Carson, lecturer in art, and Andy Terhell, associate lecturer in media. Now, I'd like to introduce you to the PET project. It is a project that brings together people, pets, and art. So today I thought I would discuss some of the methodology and background of the project, which in essence is a pedagogical model of creative enterprise that aims to establish and maintain a publics across regional Tasmania. The intent of this project is to promote fundamental sustainability imperatives in different communities where the care for and the maintenance of relationship are at the fore of public engagement. One of our key strategies is to develop a pedagogical model that not only advocates for creativity and culture, but also concurrently provides diverse participants access to mentoring, education, training, and resources. So to provide a bit of a brief overview of the project, what we do is we partner with councils, art, cultural, health, or community organisations, and we offer a free, intensive, one-day workshop to any community member interested in painting a portrait of their much-loved pet. We also ask participants if they're willing to share stories about these relationships that they have with their animals as well. We supply everything that's needed, equipment, materials, resources, etc. So to date, we've conducted workshops across the state. We've had over 130 individual registrations, and we've got 21 supporters, partners, and key stakeholders. As part of the project, we employ, mentor, and provide all of the resources for an established artist and emerging artist who work together to facilitate the workshops. So there's 2 artists per workshop, and they're supported by the project team before, during, and after the delivery of the workshop. As we conduct the workshops, we video interview participants about their relationship with their animals, and then we ask them a range of questions and encourage them to share stories, lived experiences, anecdotes, and other sort of elements about the relationship that they have with their pets. So questions like, if your pet could talk, what would they say about you? Or how has your pet helped you? Can be quite telling, but also a way of getting to understand people and their perceptions. We also interview participating artists about the role of creativity, the value of community arts, community workshops, wellbeing and health, and we ask questions to get insights into their own personal studio practices. We gather feedback and data about participants' experiences. We then follow up with artists and stakeholders post-workshop to gather more feedback and how the experience has influenced their practice. We also gather this feedback so that we can refine what we do and make our model better. So part of the project too is to deliver outcomes across diverse platforms. This has included digital, open access archives, public events and screenings, exhibitions, and more traditional publications like book chapters, journals, and of course, conference presentations. So a bit of brief background to the project, We established the PET project in Hobart in 2020. It was in response to the pandemic, which, as we all know, hasn't been particularly kind, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. So the project was set up to address both the demand for public engagement with art practices to support wellbeing and to provide a direct employment, mentorship, resources, and ongoing support for artists in regional areas. Now, as you can see from the points coming up on these slides as well, there are also many barriers that prevent community engagement, specifically with the University of Tasmania, which is a statewide university. And it has a mantra to provide education or accessible education to as many Tasmanians as possible. So the project was set up to provide a learning opportunity for people from different backgrounds, regardless of status, to try and bring them into a structured learning environment facilitated by social interaction and supported by university lecturers and professional, graduate and semi-professional artists as tutors. So we focused on pets as the anchor because Tasmania has one of the highest rates of pet ownership in the country. So those animal-human relationships are really important and an important part of life on the island. Pets are also highly emotional and they're a universally binding theme. Representation of animals in visual art also has a long and deep history. So visual art specifically has a fundamental role in making tangible our stories, perceptions, realities, and understanding of the world, and as such continues to play an important and popular role in the development of society's cultural fabric. So as reported by the Australia Council, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, it was stated that 98% of the population are involved with arts in some way. So participation in the arts is high and clearly very popular, as is animal companionship here in Tasmania. So it made a lot of sense to couple these two elements together. So the hands-on visual art workshops that we facilitate in painting pet portraiture facilitates this engagement. And further, when that's coupled with semi-structured interviews alongside more traditional collecting data methods, a rich creative setting to engage the community is constructed. So also to remove financial barriers, we do not charge a participation fee. And as I noted earlier, we provide all of the necessary materials, equipment, resources, and instruction for the community participants and also for the artists. We also engage targets as set out by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a means of sort of steering the project, benchmarking, and to provide a bit of a baseline of direction. The key value of the PET project is that it's an educative experience in visual art and creative practice or enterprise that revolves around a transferal of knowledge. So this can be defined as a community of practice, broadly explained as groups of people who come together with a shared interest. Notions of constructing publics are also useful in framing how a public, like a community of practice, can be built via a common concern or issue. So for our project, this manifests by linking one community, such as those interested in arts workshops, with other communities that consist of creative practitioners, educators, researchers, cultural and community organisations, and other stakeholders, using the universality of pets as the anchor. But it's not just that common concern that might bring publics together. It's also through others effectively communicating those issues or concerns. So the broader question for the PET project is, how do we repair social connection and cohesion, address wellbeing factors, and try and understand what this might look like as a creative pedagogical model, one that provides skills, opportunities, and meaningful outcomes for people. So one aspect is to invite personal storytelling from the participants during the workshop, and to also ask them to reflect on their creative process. Strategies that promote the sharing of lived experience have been shown to improve emotional outcomes, mental health, and well-being. The results are better communication and cohesion in and amongst the community. Story-driven approaches support the time as well as the opportunity to reflect upon issues and experience that hold personal meaning and relevance. And by encouraging creativity in a safe, inclusive, and in supportive environment and space, individual self-expression can be explored as a means to reconcile complex internal individual issues. And by doing so, transform those feelings and emotion into consciousness through the making of an artwork. Educational settings provide a window into perhaps what is most important, that often intangible yet positive effect and associations that happens between the participants as the result of learning. And those peer-to-peer exchanges that are so vital in understanding people's perspectives, but also fostering positive and safe and inclusive learning environments. So an approach like this has parallels with the social learning space. This is an element within a community of practice that has a focus on people and their participation that places identity and meaning as fundamental to the process of learning. So we wholeheartedly understand in this project it's not appropriate for us to maintain a community, but rather facilitate, engage, and support individuals to build and grow communities of practice in ways that are relevant to them and their specific contexts. As I mentioned before, we also employ artists to facilitate the workshop. An aim has been to elevate artist profiles and leave the community with new skills, networks, or opportunities that they can pursue once the project has been hosted in their specific region. We provide a mentoring program for the artists that link different skill sets together, that further supports the new networks and the opportunities, and we try and develop professional and entrepreneurial skills. So just on that, there are several touch points for the artists. Before the workshops, we hold an online session that brings the artists and the project team together to discuss the workshops and resources, to share stories, and also to meet each other. During the workshop, artists are encouraged to demonstrate their skill sets, develop a work one-on-one with participants, and also share stories and anecdotes. At the conclusion of the workshop, artists are video interviewed to capture their initial experience and to gain feedback. And a follow-up online discussion several months after the workshop is held with artists and key stakeholders to ascertain how the workshops have influenced their practice. To assess the success of our approach, we have adopted the positive psychology framework, which outlines 5 basic components: positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. The data collected from our formal feedback, participant surveys, video interviews, although only representative of a small sample, as I said before, we've had over 130 registrations across the state. It does provide a small sample, but it's an indication that all 5 basic components are achieved through the way in which the workshops are delivered. So we have strong and positive responses from the participants. And also fundamental to the project is we encourage an opportunity to try something new for those participants. Our straightforward approach demystifies the process of art making, and we make sure, which is really important, that everyone leaves with a finished painting, like these very happy people here. So if you'd like to know more about the project, feel free to get in touch, check out our website, YouTube, etc. We've got resources, and of course, read our paper when it comes out. So thanks very much, and happy Friday, everyone.